smash the like button, and subscribe. You don't care about the fact that he's literally talking about executing Democrats for saying that people who are in government shouldn't follow unlawful orders?
But can he do that though? Can he really executing Democrats?
Well, he's claiming that they're committing seditious acts.
I don't think he
Thank you so
can
much.
do that. But
Wait, that's what he was. He did that on Truth Social.
yeah. But I don't think he can do that though. Can he really
You don't
execute
know if he
Democrats?
can. Isn't it still a threat to for the president of the United States to claim that he wants to execute
I don't know about that, Parker,
Democrats for saying that
I
people in the government shouldn't follow unlawful orders?
but what I can tell you is people who support him for because of the border situation don't really care that much about like his other policies or other stance.
So you don't care about the fact that he did that, about the fact that he's calling for the political opponent.
When
Like
I am
genuinely,
going
at what point will you draw the line?
I mean, when I'm going through the process, like if he does something that's personally going to affect me or my family, versus something like, for example, he's been posting on Truth Social, that he's gonna execute some Democrats. Parker, to be honest, I really don't care as long as he can fix the border situation. Okay, I think. Let me ask you a question. What's her name again? Laken Riley, the girl who got murdered by illegal alien. Like for that, a lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, it's such a bad thing." But it's not
I'm sorry,
happening
I
to
don't know
her
why you're
family.
pivoting. You're not
I'm not
addressing the fact
pivoting.
that, because we were talking about the fact that he called for the right of political opponents, and you just don't give a shit. You don't give a flying about that he's calling the exit for the exit of literally his political opponents.
I
And you
know.
just
That's
don't
why I'm
address that.
explaining. That's why I am explaining why people who voted for him because of the border situation don't really care about
No,
other
but do you
things that he
care?
has done. They don't weigh as much.
I'm asking you,
Okay?
do you care?
Of course I don't. Why would I care?
You don't care? You don't care about the fact that he called for the exit of his political opponents?
If I'm going through the legal process, if I'm waiting in a line for like 2 years to go into America, okay, and then if he says, okay, I'm gonna fix the illegal crossing, and meanwhile he made a post, he makes a lot of posts. Some of them are very stupid, anyways. He made a lot of posts, and then meanwhile it's the post that he's saying that he's gonna execute some Democrats. Why would I care about that? Clearly, he's being, bullshitting, if that's the right
What,
word.
seriously, what specifically is so great about what's happened at the border that you're willing to overlook him calling for the exit of political opponents? That's
Exactly.
anti-democratic.
You don't get it.
That is a threat
You
to our
don't get it.
country. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm serious, genuinely. What the fuck is wrong with
Generally,
you? Stop. What the fuck is wrong with you? This is not business as usual. This is him literally on True Social from the toilet talking about executing his political opponents. Seriously, do you realize how serious that is? There's not a single Democrat that's done that. Name me one candidate in U.S. history that's done that.
you
The
don't.
execution of his political opponents.
So you think he's gonna do that? You generally
He
believe
called
that
for it
he's
from the
going to
position of
execute.
president. I'm asking, name one other candidate that did that.
Yeah, but do you think he's actually gonna do that? Who has the
Dude,
power to execute people?
I'm sorry. I don't know whether or not it's actually going to happen. I just know what did actually happen is he threatened to do so. And he literally talked about, right, literally, or in Retruth, literally saying that they would hang them. Like, I'm serious.
I don't think
You have got to realize that that is crazy. And that is not okay. And you guys talked about rhetoric from the Democrats being violent when actively the candidate that you support literally wants some to be and retruth those, talking about executing Democrats that literally just said don't follow unlawful orders. Okay?
you talk about it as if there is
Do you
legal
agree
way
that people
to execute Democrats.
do you believe people that work for the government should not follow unlawful orders?
They should follow orders, whether if there is a law, then they should follow it.
No.
Yeah,
Should they not follow unlawful orders?
should they not follow unlawful orders? If it's unlawful, then of course they should not follow it.
Okay, wait. So your position right there is the exact position that Donald Trump said was justification for someone's death. That's what he
But he
literally
cannot-
said. He said that
Yeah,
was
but he
seditious
cannot do
action.
that. In what world,
He
in
said that
what
was seditious
multi-universe,
behavior.
he can execute the Democrats? He can
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
execute a
sorry.
person.
Okay, please tell me. Please tell me you don't. Please tell me you can acknowledge this.
I can't acknowledge that. I would
He
be.
literally
I
said
would
the
freak out
position
if it's
you
true,
have
if it's
is
doable,
seditious behavior.
if he can put it in a practical way, but he can't.
Wait, say that again.
That's. I said he made that post just like many of his ridiculous posts. They're just posts, you know. They don't affect people in
Yeah,
any way.
he retruthed
cannot
someone.
execute
He
anyone.
retruthed someone saying "Hang them, George Washington." What? He retruthed someone saying that. I
don't
can
know,
show you
but-
right now. He retruthed
but-
that. In the last 24 hours, that was posted. He retruthed it. He retruthed it, which means he
But
reposted
my
it.
point is,
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a Democrat said that about Republicans? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, Obama wore a tan suit. He had Dijon mustard. Okay? And Fox News was talking about that. But Donald Trump says, retweets someone saying, "Hang them, George Washington would." And you literally are just willing to overlook that?
I can tell you who are going to overlook that. Those people who are waiting in line to go, through the legal process, they're definitely going to overlook that. You don't see the point because this is something that you don't experience. The reason why I brought
I'm
up
sorry. Most legal immigrants would not agree with this. Okay? Genuinely, most legal immigrants coming to our country would agree with the position that I hold right now and would disagree with the position that you hold. I'm genuinely serious. Most people would. You want to know what's crazy? Trump is not advocating for the legal process to go quicker. You know who is? Democrats. Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
They were advocating for the legal process to go quicker. You are actually delusional for thinking that the average legal immigrant coming to our country would agree with Donald Trump saying that some Democrats should be right?
I
Because
did
they
not
said
say-
that you should not follow unlawful
Why
orders.
are you putting words in my mouth?
Wait, no,
Parker?
I'm sorry. That's the position I just said is crazy and would get you to stop supporting someone. If the average person knew this, that Donald Trump just did this, they would stop supporting him. So you should do that.
I did not say that.
Cult
You're
members.
putting words in
Only
my mouth
cult
right now.
members will defend this. I'm serious. Only cult members will defend this.
And can I say something? Because you're
Yeah, go
putting
ahead.
words in my mouth. I didn't say I agree with him saying that. I didn't say that. I didn't say most legal immigrants would agree him.
No, but you're willing to
doing that.
overlook it. That's what I'm saying.
Because it's not important. It's not relevant.
It is. This is incredibly important. This is
If-
I'm sorry, but this is textbook fascism. I'm serious. This is absolutely textbook fascism. He's blatantly calling for the political opponents. I'm sorry. If you can't see this as totalitarianism and an element of fascism, then I don't know what else is going to tell you that. Genuinely. He is talking about executing his political opponents. At what point will you stand up to this? At what point? Genuinely,
I will stand up to it.
I'm not just like some liberal talking head right now saying this to you. I'm genuinely saying as an American that cares for this country, why the fuck would you support this shit? Stop supporting this. Get over this. Support another candidate. Don't support this. This is insane. This is crazy. And if you can't realize that, you will never be able to realize that about any candidate ever running for political office. And you would be subjected to literally supporting literal Nazis and fascists in the context of Italy, in the context of Germany, during the context of World War II. I'm sorry, you absolutely would have. If you will sit here and defend Donald Trump saying that he is okay with hanging his political opponents that literally just said if you're in intelligence agencies and if you're in the military or like a service member that you should not follow unlawful orders, he said that was sedition and justification for literally them being hung. I'm sorry. Crazy. You can't sit there and say that. That's horrible. Do you actually love your country? Do you actually love do you love the Constitution? Do you love the rule of law? Do you love our democracy? Do you love the systems that our country has? Because it sounds like to me you don't give a shit about it.
On the contrary, Parker, I care about it. That's why people need to follow the law when they go to the country. When they go into the country, you're constantly putting words in my mouth. You said I support.
We are
insane
so far beyond that conversation. If you can't realize right now that you need to look at where your priorities are. If you can't realize that we are well beyond violations of the law, the Trump administration is violating the law all the time. We're literally saying that the Democrats were saying follow the law. And Donald Trump said that they're engaging in an action punishable by death. The Democrats were the ones saying follow the law. So who's actually the one talking about following the law? Is it our side or is it your side? Because to me, it sounds like our side disproportionately is advocating for following the law, whereas your side doesn't give a shit about the law. as long as it's convenient for you to violate it.
I actually think you're talking about your side because people who go into the country legally, they follow the process, and you're saying we're not following the law.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm serious. Like, genuinely, like, if you want people
And
to
we're
follow the
accusing
law,
those illegal crossings, and you're saying they're following the law.
yeah,
Wow.
no, I'm acknowledging that undocumented immigrants are not following the law. But what I'm saying is that the violation of the law they engaged in is nowhere near as harmful as the violation of the laws by the Trump administration, the undermining of constitutionally protected rights. Those matter so much more than an undocumented immigrant who has not committed a violent crime or bad crime coming into our country. And if you can't identify that, I'm sorry, what could I convince you of? What genuinely, like,
You
what could I convince you of at this point? I can show you that your priority should not be in deporting people who have been in this country for 10 plus years, who have not committed a violent crime or bad crime and are just benefiting their communities and their families, right?
Your
Wow.
Parker,
Like,
let me
that
just
you
say
should be
one
deporting
thing.
people like that.
Let me just say one thing. Your stand on illegal crossing, on illegal immigrants, would be a little bit different if Laken Riley was your sister. Okay, that's the only thing I would say.
Undocumented immigrants are multiple times less likely to commit violent crime, drug crime, property crime in the country compared to natural born U.S. citizens. Why would you take one case where an undocumented immigrant did something that's unspeakable, horrific, and terrible, right? And
Because
say that that's representative of all undocumented immigrants? Because you wouldn't point at someone like Jeffrey Epstein and represent all Americans like Jeffrey Epstein. You wouldn't represent all Americans as the worst Americans that have ever existed. You wouldn't represent all people specifically as the worst person of a group that they're a part of. It is obviously ridiculous for you to paint all undocumented immigrants as specifically the same as someone who has committed a treacherous action like murdering someone who is absolutely innocent, right? We disagree with that. But if you disagree with that, you can't look away when the Trump administration advocates to execute political opponents. You can't look away when the Trump administration murders people, over 60 people off the coast of Venezuela, with absolutely no evidence given to Congress that they actually had any drugs. And even if they did, it would have been reason to detain them once they got to U.S. waters rather than murdering them. I mean, if you actually cared about people's lives, you wouldn't be supporting the Trump administration. So, yes, I would still sit here and support the exact same policy I do right now, because inevitably the policy I'm advocating for right now would actually reduce the likelihood of that happening, because law enforcement will have more time focusing on people who have committed violent crimes and bad crimes. They'll have more time to deal with the murderers and the right? If they are not deporting people's grandparents who are working for their families, right, for a better life, people's parents who are working for their families for a better life, people's siblings who are working for their families and their communities for a better life, who have not committed violent crimes and bad crimes and are not a threat to our safety and security as a community. Over 70% of people detained by ICE are not someone who is a threat to our safety and security, as they literally have no prior criminal record. Okay? Focus on the murderers, focus on the that's what the American people want. They just didn't know how to support it in terms of policy. My policy, what I agree with, it literally, if I explain it to the average American, they will agree with it. It's only because this information has not been accessible to the average American in terms of, oh, what are actual policies that specifically would actually advocate for amnesty and advocate for quicker legal immigration that could be an option that aren't currently supported by politicians right now. If they were shown that as an option, they would pick it in most
Okay, let
circumstances.
me ask you a question.
Appreciate the fireworks. Thank you.
After all that, let me just ask you a question. Are you happy about the border situation right now?
No.
So you would rather have the illegal crossings daily, like the thousands of illegal crossing, in comparison with the situation, with the status quo?
I would prefer a process that I have right now, right, where specifically undocumented immigrants that I was advocating for get a pathway to citizenship if they have not committed a violent crime or bad crime, and that law enforcement can focus on those that have committed violent crimes and bad crimes and are a threat to
You're
our safety
dodging
and
the
security.
question though.
Thank you
It's
for
a
the
simple
job.
question. The border situation right now is the status quo,
Well,
where
what you're doing
illegal
is creating a
crossing were
false
basically
dichotomy.
zero.
What you're doing is creating a false dichotomy. You're saying that it's either what we have right now or just open borders. That's what you're trying to claim it as. That's not the two things that can happen. There are other options, and what I'm saying is another option, and this option is the right one to pick. You can't give me a single reason why your immigration view would be better than mine. Give me a single reason.
What do you mean?
You
I
can't
just
give me
asked you a
one.
very simple question, and you're keeping dodging the question.
I'm not. I directly answered it. What did I dodge?
I said the status quo or thousands of illegal crossing, which was the case before, like 2 years ago. Which one are you happy with?
I told you
Which one would you?
the level of undocumented crossings were due to the economic insecurity, but I would prefer the immigration surge that happened under the Biden-Harris administration to what's going on right now. Because I care about the Constitution, I care about the rule of law, I care about the context of how people are treated in this country, and I think the inhumane treatment by the Trump administration, the violation of constitutionally protected rights, is such a treacherous thing that should never happen in this country that I definitely would prefer what happened under the Democrats comparative to what's happening right now. No questions asked. I think the average person would support what's going on with Democrats right now compared to what was happening with the Republicans. Why? Because what's happening with the Republicans is the person who's in political office is going on Truth Social talking about executing his political opponents, saying that he wants to pardon violent rioters.
You mentioned that already.
Pardoning violent rioters who beat police officers. Why am I mentioning it over and over again? Because it's fucking insane.
I know it's insane.
I'm sorry.
You know what
I
else
want to keep mentioning it because it should fucking shock your conscience. It should shock your conscience. When I bring it up every single time, it should shock your conscience. The fact that it doesn't shock your conscience shows how indoctrinated you are into the MAGA cult. I'm serious. You have MAGA cult mentality, and you are indoctrinated by that belief system. Okay, and it is limiting your ability to see common sense, basic things that everyone else can see if they are not indoctrinated and brainwashed into the cult. Okay? Everyone else can see that this is insane. Everyone else can see that this is in a totalitarian, right, action from the Trump administration. If you care about small government, if you care about low taxes, if you care about freedom, then you should not support Donald Trump. And you should support other conservatives within your party that actively advocate for freedom, for the Constitution, for the rule of law, for our checks and balances, and for a system that advocates for literally everyone, not just for the ones that advocate for the rich and wealthy and for the well-connected.
That's insane. The fact that you just admitted that you're happy with the border under Democrats, where thousands of illegal crossing are walking into the country, and meanwhile you said you love your country. I don't really see the connection there. Like, why would you love your country if there are thousands of people breaking its law daily?
The thousands of people breaking the law daily are the people in the Trump administration that are breaking the law over and over again, violating people's due process rights. That is a violation of the law that is literally unseen, right, by almost any administration in the modern era. You couldn't give me another administration that's done something like this. But you're willing to overlook that because you care so much about an undocumented immigrant that is coming here for a better life. Genuinely.
And you're talking about how unpopular, my opinion is, supporting a safer border. Then why would a lot of people who voted for Trump? And I think that's the reason
they were conned. They were propagandized into believing that he was going to go after violent criminals.
It's not con.
And Democrats did not do a good enough job. Democrats did not do a good enough job in telling the American people that they're going after their family members, that they're going after their loved ones, that they're going after the people that they care about. Democrats did not do a good enough job. And I put that on Democrats as much as I put that specifically on voters that didn't inform themselves, as much as I put that on people specifically that didn't involve themselves, when literally we have the president of the United States literally calling for the Democrats. Okay, you need to get involved. Every American needs to get involved. This should shock everyone's conscience. I'm saying that over and over again because this is crazy. This is beyond politics as normal. This is beyond we can sit down and have a conversation and agree to disagree. This is literally him calling for the political opponents and could end up being people like me. I'm genuinely serious. If he's calling for the of those in Congress that are literally just saying do not follow unlawful orders, what stops him from doing so with practically any other Democrat, and you just overlooking it and being like, oh, yeah, you know what? I really support his border policy, and Democrats were advocating for an open border, right? Like, genuinely, like, I actually, like, what will this lead to? When will you be able to stand up? And if you can't stand up right now, what will happen until you can stand up?
The majority of American people support a safer border.
And Trump's not doing that. But dude, you know what's Trump's approval rating on immigration?
That? So there are
what is
thousands
Trump's
of
approval rating on
right
immigration?
Now.
What's Trump's approval rating on immigration?
Wow, you just said he's not doing that right now. So what? Am I blind? Are there more people crossing the border illegally?
What did I say they're not doing?
You just said they're not doing it. You said Trump is not doing that. I said the majority of Americans. I said the majority of Americans.
He's not making. So listen, he's not making it safer. So when you talk about whether or not it's safe, doesn't constitutional rights matter?
Wow, he's not making it safer. So
no,
by cutting the illegal crossing, he's not making this safer.
Undocumented immigrants actually reduce the crime rate because they have a lower likelihood of committing crime.
Oh God, Yeah, you
Yeah,
tell that
if
to Lincoln
Mora
Riley's family. Tell
again,
that to Lincoln Riley's family.
that's like pointing to a legal immigrant or a tourist committing a crime and then branding all immigrants who are legal and all
This is
tourists as
something that
that.
I
Wait, no, would you point to a what's it called? A what's it called? I can't speak. Would you would you point to a tourist committing an act of murder and would you brand all tourists as such?
you failed to say the point. The reason why I am here is because this is
Can you answer my
affecting
question?
a large amount of
I would love
people.
to. I would love to. I would love to. I just want you to address this. Would you say that because a tourist has committed a murder, that you would brand all tourists like this murderer, or you would say that if you don't advocate for banning tourism, that you are in support of this murder happening?
Of course not. Why would I do
Okay, so
that?
then why are you saying that specifically here? Because undocumented immigrants as a whole have not committed this. They are less likely to commit violent crime, drug crime, property crime in the country compared to naturally born U.S. citizens. And we're advocating to deport those that have committed these particular types of actions. No one disagrees with that. If someone's committed a violent crime or bad crime or is at risk of murdering someone, we don't want that to happen. Okay? But you're trying to brand all undocumented immigrants as such when it is proportionally significantly less likely to occur, and you're not willing to accept that.
We're not willing to accept that because we're going through the process. Thousands, tens of thousands of people are going through the legal process, waiting for their background check, health check, waiting for embassy interviews, while the Democrats allow thousands of illegal crossings go into the country. So while we see that happening, and you ask me, oh, Trump is going to fix the border, but meanwhile he posts on a post on Truth Social, like thousands of his bullshit posts every day, daily. Like, why would I care about that? Of course, I'm going to care about what's affecting me directly.
This does, whether or not we have freedom of speech, whether or not we have the ability to disagree with our government, whether or not we have the ability to stand up as a society against evil and tyranny, right, is literally predicated on whether or not you're willing to stand up right now against the fact that he literally talked about executing political opponents. How come you?
You
I
mentioned
actually,
freedom of
I
speech.
cannot.
Isn't that his freedom of speech?
Stop. Is it freedom of speech to literally advocate to murder people? Is that your view?
Can I make a Twitter post saying that I will murder Trump tomorrow? Are you going to judge me for it?
I would say you shouldn't advocate to murder political opponents. Okay.
So you're violating my First Amendment, my freedom of speech.
I don't think you have the ability to do death threats. I don't think that's freedom of speech.
Wow.
Do you think someone?
So I can do it and Trump can't, and we're both equal.
I don't think
We're both equal under law.
I don't think anyone should be able to.
So where is my freedom of speech?
I don't think you have freedom of speech to threaten to murder people.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
like,
now
genuinely,
you
like-
change that. You change the whole thing to in favor of your viewpoint.
Wait, again, you're talking about threatening to murder people. I think that that's not free speech. Do you agree with me?
I wouldn't personally make that post, but it is definitely arguable.
Okay,
for if you
so then you'd be okay with Democrats advocating for the murder of Republicans?
if it's within the premise of their freedom of speech, sure. And if they actually do that, they should hold accountable for it.
Okay, so again, do you think that they should be allowed to do that, to advocate to murder, right, their political opponents? So if a Democrat ran on murdering the political opponents that he has, would you support that?
Well, anyone saying they're gonna threaten to kill someone, that's not very Christian. So why would I support
You
that?
said that's not very Christian.
Of course not. Why would it be?
Are you Christian?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay, so then why'd you bring up Christianity?
Because I have families who are Christians.
Okay, why did you bring that up? If just because you have family members that are Christian, so do I.
Because it's not. Because they say it all the time. If someone does something not nice, and then they say that's not very Christian.
Okay, alrighty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my point is, we're happy with the border situation right now. That's all I'm gonna
Hey,
say.
dude,
And he made that happen.
I genuinely think that you might be a lost cause. Like, I've tried my hardest to get you to realize that what Trump has done is disqualifying. Can you name one thing Trump could do that would get you to stop supporting?
If he brings the border back to 2 years ago, where thousands of illegals crossing the border.
Are you a
daily.
single issue voter?
Yeah, a lot of people
Okay.
are, don't you
You
think?
are. You are. Then I'll ask you this question: if Donald Trump raped children in the Epstein files with Epstein, would you still support him?
I would not.
You wouldn't. So you would draw the line then. Would you draw the line if you were held civilly liable of forcefully penetrating a woman's vagina against her will, unanimously amongst a jury of 9 people?
Oh, I know where this is going. But a lot of people don't know that, Parker. That's why a lot of people voted for him.
Answer my question. So in that scenario, would you vote for him if he were held civilly liable?
I would not.
You would not?
I
Well,
would
that's
not.
true. That did happen. He was held civilly liable of forcefully penetrating E. Jean Carroll's vagina against her will, unanimously amongst a jury of 9 people. So it sounds like you wouldn't support him right now.
Yeah, I would not. If it's true.
It is true. Look up Trump liable essay AP News.
Say that again.
Look up Trump liable essay AP News.
You said easy news.
AP News.
Is it jury finds Trump liable for abuse, awards accuser $5 million?
Yep, read that.
So did Trump actually plead guilty for this?
Did Trump actually plead guilty? Trump was held civilly liable. He didn't plead guilty. He was held civilly liable. So a unanimous decision from a jury indicated that he sexually abused E. Jean Carroll, which means that he forcefully penetrated her against her will, which was specified by the judge, who said that Donald Trump in fact raped E. Jean Carroll. Even though the original law specifically didn't indicate grape, that just is based on legal wording. It was forceful penetration of her against her will, and that is absolutely grape. That's how everyone defines the term.
So he didn't plead guilty.
You said what?
So he didn't plead guilty, saying that he didn't do this, but despite the fact that he had to pay all this money, but he didn't
He
plead
didn't
guilty.
plead guilty, but he was held liable.
Okay. Do you believe that there is a case where people are wrongfully trialed by the court?
Yes, obviously. But this isn't a situation like that because he was held liable unanimously amongst a jury of 9 people. It was appealed. He didn't get the appeal, right? He lost that. There's 26 different women that have accused him of sexual misconduct, right? He bragged about walking into the changing rooms of naked women while they're changing without their consent, where an 18-year-old came out said there were 4 girls as young as 15 years old in these changing rooms where Donald Trump would barge in. Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted child sex trafficker, said that he knew a bunch of bad people, but didn't know anyone as bad as Trump. So he knew a bunch of child rapes, but none as bad as Trump.
Yeah.
So like, do you understand that these are all reasons why you should be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't support this guy, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
I know,
All
but
right, there's
you tell that to
there's
the.
literally a trillion things about this guy that are atrocious.
I know that. I follow the news and I'm very open about it. But this is just you can tell those people who are waiting in line right now, and then they're gonna tell you they don't really care. They just want the legal process to be gone, and then everybody goes into the country equally, not where it was under Democrats where you have the people on one hand waiting in lines to go through the legal channels, and then you have the people on the other hand who just walk into the border and then get work permit and everything, and sometimes like hotels. That's just so unfair.
You're talking about people going through the legal asylum process, getting access to a hotel in a severe weather scenario in the context of New York. So legal immigrants getting help from the government in emergency situations of severe weather, and you have an issue with that.
I don't know, but like I said, the situation,
Again, is that a
status
bigger
quo of the
issue than
border.
is that a bigger issue than grape? Is that a bigger issue than like undermining our democracy, if calling for the political opponents, of all of these atrocious things? Like, it's genuinely. Do you think that's worse? I can't
I
believe you're
just think
real. Like, if you actually think
I
that.
I just think when Democrats are in power, maybe they should be more vocaling about how they can handle the border situation,
Yeah,
because that's
Democrats
what
need to be more vocal. I agree, but that doesn't mean that you should sit here and support Donald Trump.
I might not, Parker. After watching you and Deem, I might not. So.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming up then.